All right, let's talk about what have I learned in the last 25 years that is life-changing and I would never change. Well, that's a loaded question, but if I could narrow it down to just a few things, I would have to say being humble and being teachable. You know, all of us have something to learn, and we're all in different stages of our lives. And one of the things that I have learned, especially in the workplace, is that if you are a prideful and arrogant person who thinks you know it all, well, number one, people aren't going to like you. Number two, you're going to mess up. And then you're going to be humbled very quickly by either your boss, your peers, other workers, clients, you name it. You're going to be humbled. And so the most important part, I think, in all of this is learning to be knowledgeable of the fact that you don't know everything, that you're not the end of all end, and you can learn something. And I hate to say it, but it goes along with that in relationships too. With relationships, we have to be teachable, we have to be humble, and we have to admit when we're wrong, and we also have to learn from our mistakes. So a lot of your big mistakes that go on in marriages and relationships are people that are so arrogant and so full of themselves that they're not willing to admit that potentially they have partial fault in the problem. In my 25-year marriage, I always felt like I was having to admit that I was the one at fault. She was nitpicky, she was always trying to find fault in me, and then the number one problem was that she would never truly forgive me. And so the next time something like this would come up or a next problem would come up, she would remind me of all the faults that I did in the past and say, you know, looks like you never change, you never change, you never change, yeah, whatever. But the point is that that kind of behavior against your partner is defeating. It's just beating you down, and it feels like, well, why bother? And then there was even times where I didn't do anything wrong, and it turned out to be somebody else who did the wrong that was in the family, and I got blamed. And that was all because I had something like that in the past, and they just assumed it was me again. But I mean, guys, teachable means that you admit when you're wrong, but also being humble means that you can also be a person that's willing to forgive somebody. You know, think about it. If both partners are willing to forgive each other for their mistakes, always assuming that the other person is not perfect, they have faults, they have problems, and I currently could have the same problems too.